One late night, I woke up to the sound of scratching coming from beneath my bed. I tried to ignore it and just write it off as if it was my imagination, but the scratching kept getting louder and louder and louder. I panicked and I looked under the bed, only to see a pair of eyes looking right back at me. Frozen in fear, I listened as this muffled voice explained to me that a doppelganger had taken its place, and that it was trapped in this suffocating darkness. And then it hit me. This whole time, I've been sharing a bed with a stranger, while the real me was out there somewhere living my life.
Alafia! My name is Oshun Amare. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Y'all are my soul tribe. Tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you. It's because I love you so freaking much. Please like, comment, and subscribe for your weekly dose of supernatural that comes to you weekly, couple days. And I love y'all. Let me know in the comments where you're from, what your area code is, what your zodiac sign is, hometown 412, living space 813, and all day, every day, a beautiful Gemini. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Let's get to this next video.
I had a follower send me their mimic/doppelganger story, and it is terrifying. According to her, it all kicked off in 2021, and her husband would be gone a lot because he was in the military. He would be like out in the field for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and during those times, she would just feel a presence in her home. At the time, this really freaked her out because she was pregnant with their first child, their daughter, and so she would light prayer candles every single night before she went to bed. It would just give her comfort. And she would just leave them lit throughout the night. And one night she wakes up and they're all out. And she thinks it's weird, but she has to go to the bathroom. So she kind of just ignores it, gets up. And as she's going to the bathroom, she hears what sounds like a woman singing from her daughter's nursery, which is literally right next to the bathroom, like singing, humming. She said it sounded like a lullaby. The nursery at the time was just being used for storage because, of course, she was pregnant. When she leaves the bathroom, like rushing to her daughter's nursery, the humming is just getting louder and louder and louder, and it doesn't stop until she actually opens up the door. Obviously, there was no one there humming. And about 2 weeks later, her husband is home from the field. Well, her husband had just finished using the bathroom. He's kind of coming out to the living room, and when he sees her, he like jumps out of his skin. He's so scared. And she like laughs. She just thinks like maybe she startled him. And he says to her, "Did you just sit down there?" And she says, "No, why?" Like she's on the couch with her cookies, she's under a blanket, she's comfy. And that's when her husband tells her that he just saw her walk into their daughter's room. And he was really confused when this happened because it looked just like her, except for some reason she had long black hair. Over the next couple of months, her husband swears this keeps happening. Like he will see the back of her head, except it's never the back of her head. She just has this long black hair, but she's always wearing the same clothes and it looks just like her. And she'll be walking into a room as he's kind of like walking past. In October of 2021, she gave birth to their first child, their daughter, and she found out shortly after that that she was pregnant with their son. And nothing happens until about a month after her son is born in 2022. And of course, it was one of those times where her husband was gone in the field and she's going to the bathroom. I don't know why the bathroom is attached to so many weird happenings in this place. But as she's in there, she hears a sound coming from her daughter's nursery. Now this is really concerning because when it happened the first time, she was pregnant with her daughter. Now her daughter like lives in that room. And so she immediately gets up from the bathroom. She's going down the hall to investigate. And it sounds like there's something tapping in her daughter's room. My cat has joined us for the story, but she goes into her daughter's room. She's like, "What is this tapping sound?" And that's when she realizes it's the blinds in her daughter's room, like hitting the window over and over and over again, as if somebody is sitting there and like moving them back and forth. She also then notices that her daughter is like upright in her crib. Her hair is a mess. Her daughter is like freaking out, crying. So she immediately scoops her daughter up. She takes her to the bedroom. She has her other child in there. Both of the babies are crying and screaming and everybody's freaked out. And she's on the phone with her in-laws like, "What do I do?" Her father-in-law comes to the home to come check things out, just make sure everything's okay. And of course, nobody's there. She's kind of like, "I'm sorry I called you out. I swear to you, I know what I heard." And shortly after this, that apartment, that place where they lived, actually got broken into. And so they immediately moved to a townhome, which is where the rest of this story takes place. She probably at this time wasn't thinking much about the paranormal activity and the weird mimic stuff from the last place because they're in a new home and she had bigger fish to fry. Like their place actually got broken into. But she would sometimes notice that her daughter's closet light would be on when she would enter into the room and she just would ignore it. She was like, I don't really want to bring this energy into the new place. I'm not going to acknowledge it. Until one day her husband calls out to her and he says, were you just watching me go to the bathroom? And she calls back from the living room. She's like, no, I'm on my phone. I'm watching YouTube in the living room. And he says, I saw you again like last time, but this time you were peeking around the door at me while I was using the bathroom. And of course she's freaked out because her husband just saw that thing again after so much time without any activity. And so she starts cleansing the space pretty routinely and the activity dies down again. And once again, she's like, okay, we're in the clear. And then there's an incident where they have a bunch of guests over and her daughter drops a glass and she decides to put her daughter into her room in this new townhouse just so they can clean up the glass and she won't get hurt on any of it. Her husband is like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. You stay with her. And so she stays in the room with her daughter. They're like laying on the floor playing with toys when suddenly her daughter sits up and she's like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. And she lets out this blood-curdling scream while looking into her closet, the same closet where the lights had been coming on occasionally, and the original person who sent me this email doesn't know why. She walks around this room and she's telling whatever this is, like, no, leave her alone, get out of here. Eventually, her daughter calms down. And at the time of sending me this email, she had said that her husband was leaving for 9 months. And she felt like the thing was going to act up again once he was gone. I didn't find this email until literally like today, and it was sent a year ago. So I'm going to email her back and ask if anything else happened. But in my original email, she asked for advice. So if you guys have any ideas for how to get rid of this thing, if she's still dealing with it, let her know down below. She'll probably read the comments. But yeah, this is such a terrifying mimic story. So what do you think? Stay spooky, friends.
I completely agree, honey. That's creepy. What would you do? Any advice? Because, you move and it still follows you. That's really creepy. Clearly, they need some type of cleansing spiritually. It doesn't matter the environment. It's them. It's her. She, them, her, whoever. Somebody needs an actual cleansing, okay? You gotta go. You're not welcome. Next video.
Have you ever encountered a doppelganger? Whether you have or not, this story is definitely gonna freak you out. For the sake of the story, we're gonna call her Lily. So one night, Lily was sitting in her driveway getting ready to leave. As she's sitting there, her neighbor happens to pull up in the driveway right next to hers. Being that in order for her to be able to leave, she would kind of have to drive around the back of his car, and she didn't want to blind him with her headlights, so she decided to just kind of patiently wait in her car until he went into his house. This man always came home around the same time every night. Like clockwork, he would get out of his car, he would grab his lunch bag, and he would walk through his gate and lock it behind him. Lily knew that in no time he would be in the house, so she decided to just kind of patiently wait. As she happens to glance over at his truck, she sees a man just standing next to it. And I mean, this man just popped out of nowhere. But when this guy walks around the corner, Lily gets a look at his face, and he looks identical to her neighbor, even down to the clothes that he's wearing. As her neighbor is getting out of his truck, this thing comes up from behind him and starts to attack him. But not like your typical attack, it was almost like out of this world. She then sees when her neighbor falls to the ground. The minute he falls to the ground, his whole body disintegrates and just disappears. Then she sees as the doppelganger starts to kind of rearrange his face to look more like her neighbor, and then just calmly picks up the lunch bag, walks through the gate and into the neighbor's house. Lily just sat in her car completely stunned, too terrified to move, not even sure what she just witnessed. She ended up just pulling out of the driveway and getting the heck out of there. Lily does say that ever since that happened, her neighbor has not been the same. He used to be this very outgoing, lively guy where he would constantly have get-togethers at his house every single weekend. Ever since that took place, this new guy doesn't do any of that. He just stays home all the time. Even his wife has mentioned how he doesn't really like the same type of foods that he used to enjoy. He doesn't watch the same type of shows that he used to enjoy either. Lily says that he's literally like the shadow of the person that he used to be.
Doppelganger is a German word meaning double taker. In the world of paranormal, a doppelganger is often portrayed as a ghostly or paranormal phenomenon. A doppelganger is like your evil twin. It is a sinister or evil entity out to get you. Others believe that doppelgangers are a form of demons, hence why it's said to be bad luck if you see your doppelganger. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and in today's video, let's take a look at some of the scariest doppelganger stories.
Neighbor's dog keeps barking, so if you hear it, I'm so sorry. Also, I need to cut the bad habit of biting the skin off of my lips when I get nervous. I don't know how to stop that, okay? Anyway, this girl wrote into Relatos de la Noche because she says she keeps seeing her sister's doppelganger. Doppelganger. Am I saying it right? I hope I am. She said that when she first noticed this, she would see her sister go to a room, and then she would see her come from a different way, and she was like, what the hell, I just saw you go in there. And it kind of escalated from there. There was one time where her mom and her and another sister were in the living room, and she got a little cold, so she was gonna go upstairs and get a sweater. When she went up the stairs, she turned on the lights from the stairs only because she was just gonna grab a sweater really quickly. Once she grabs the sweater, she comes out to the hallway, and with the light from the stairs, she can see into her sister's room, and she said that she can clearly see her laying in bed. She mentioned that she did think it was weird that her sister was asleep, but she didn't really give it that much importance and just went back down the stairs with her other sister and mom. Once she went down there, she got chills all over her body because what she saw was that same sister that was asleep in her room on the kitchen table doing her homework. She did tell her mom then and there what she had seen upstairs, but the mom confirmed that the sister had been at the table for a while now with her headphones in, really focused on her homework, so there's no way that she was up there asleep. She said that after her mom told her that, she really didn't want to read too much into it, and she tried to justify it by just telling herself that maybe since only the stairs lights were on, she thought she saw somebody on her sister's bed. But she also knew that she was kind of trying to lie to herself just so she could feel better and not have a panic about it. However, a few days passed, and this is what the mom experienced. So before I start, I just want to let you know that from the mom's room, she could see two of the bedroom doors, and that's for the two daughters, the one that's telling us the story and the one that they keep seeing the doppelganger of. And at the end of that, there's also a restroom, which she can see all of this from her room. So the mom says that it was one night where she just couldn't fall asleep and she was tossing and turning, and while she couldn't fall asleep, she saw that the daughter, the doppelganger one, she got out of her room and went into the restroom. At this point, the mom had turned the TV on because she knew she just couldn't fall asleep, and after 15 minutes, she was like, wait, I have not seen her get out of that restroom, so she kind of got a little worried. So the mom goes to the restroom expecting to see her daughter there, but the lights were off. She opens the door and there is nobody in that restroom. So out of curiosity, she's like, I never saw her go back to her room, so let me check. She opens the daughter's bedroom door, and the girl is asleep on her bed. The mom was a little freaked out because there is no explanation as to why she saw her daughter go in, never saw her come out, and then her daughter is fast asleep on her bed. So back to the sister, because she's the one that's writing in this story. She says that something else happened, and it was probably the scariest thing that happened and the last time she saw her sister's doppelganger. It was New Year's Day, and the girl that's writing in, her boyfriend invited her entire family to go spend New Year's with his family, and they did. And they didn't end up coming back home until 4 in the morning. She said that when they got home, everybody went to their bedrooms because it was really late, and well, I guess early, but they were all really tired and they were gonna go to bed. She said before she went to sleep, she went to the restroom and was washing her face, taking her makeup off, and brushing her teeth. She mentions that she didn't close the door because it's not like she was in use the toilet or shower. She was just trying to do everything quickly to go to bed. And that was when she saw her sister pass by and go down the stairs. And she didn't really think anything of it until she realized that her sister never turned the stairs light on. She said that she walked out of the restroom not really thinking about anything but except for why she didn't turn the lights on, and by the time she got to the top of the stairs, her sister was already at the last step, and she lost sight of her when she went into the living room. Once she got to the living room, even though she lost sight of her, she again thought it was weird that she hasn't turned any lights on. She mentions that since her and her sister were little, they always accompanied each other downstairs, or like they never like to go down there alone. They always keep each other's company, right? So that's what she thought in that moment. She was like, well, let me go with her because I don't know what she's doing, and you know, maybe she needs my company. She's about to go down the stairs, as she hears her sister's voice behind her say, "What are you looking at? What are you doing?" Her real sister had just came out of the bedroom, her bedroom, asking her what the hell she had been looking at and where is she going. She said that she stayed frozen in that moment because she was just about to go down there. She saw her sister walk down those steps and her sister had just opened her own bedroom door and said, "What are you doing?" I wouldn't even know what the fuck to do. She said that she wants to blame it on maybe drinking on New Year's, but like no, because she clearly saw her pass by that door, like saw her go down the stairs and lost sight of her when she was going to the living room. So she doesn't know what to think about it, but she doesn't think it was her drinking that caused her to see that, you know? By the way, this happened in January of this year, 2024. This is something that happened recently. She says that she hasn't seen it again since, but she doesn't know what to make of it. Like, is it a spirit or is it like a true doppelganger of her sister? But it just freaks her out. I'm not gonna lie, if that was me and my sister had just come out of her bedroom, which one is the real one? At this point, I don't trust anyone. Nobody. I'm gonna lock myself in my room. But also, the fact that it happened this year and more things could possibly happen other than that, I would never trust my sister again. I can't. If I see her, like, is it you or is it not you? Anyway, what do you guys think about it? I'm gonna put this story here with the time that it starts. It's from Relatos de la Noche, and of course, it is 1,000 times scarier in Spanish.
So this story freaked me out. Someone named Amy sent me her story, and the story is about a doppelganger. So this story is actually about her doppelganger, and it is from the perspective of her two husbands. No, not two husbands at the same time, an ex-husband and a husband. So Amy met her first husband when she was 12 years old. They actually got married when she was 18 years old after she got pregnant with her first child. She actually had 2 children with him, and they ended up moving into this small house in a place in Wisconsin. It was their first house. They were really excited about it. It wasn't big, but it was just big enough for their family of 4. So she said that they lived in the house for a couple of months and that weird things would happen every once in a while, but wasn't anything like huge. One day, her husband, Jeff, was at home and she was at work. He was taking care of his 2 kids, and all of a sudden he hears something in the kitchen and he thinks that his wife, Amy, is home. So there was like a little doorway from the kitchen, I guess, to the living room, and he looks through the living room into the kitchen and he sees the back side of Amy, and she's like washing dishes. At least that's what it looked like to him. So he actually had a prosthetic leg and he didn't have his leg on at the time, so he wasn't able to like get up and walk into the kitchen. He said that he said her name and she didn't answer, and then he said her name again and then she didn't answer. So then he said that he literally got off the couch and started crawling towards the kitchen because he just had this really bad feeling and something was really freaking him out. He said that he got to the kitchen, he was almost through the door. When he looked up, he sees her, he says her name one more time, she looks back at him, she gives him like this crazy evil glare, and then she turns around and she walks out of the kitchen. He's really confused. He doesn't understand what he did. He thinks that he maybe upset her in some way, but he said that the feeling was just like overwhelmingly not good. About 2 minutes later, Amy walks through the door and she says hi to him and she greets him normally. He was like, what was that all about? You just came home, you were washing dishes, like I said your name 3 times, I came into the kitchen, you're just ignoring me, like what happened? And she's like, what are you talking about? I just got home from work, I haven't been home at all, and I wasn't doing dishes. At this point, he is chilled to the bone. He cannot believe it because he knows that what he just saw was like evil, not good. They actually ended up getting a divorce years later, and she met someone new. They get married and they go on vacation a lot. One day they are on vacation, they are in a hotel room and they are sleeping. They are sleeping next to each other. Her new husband's name was Clay. So her and Clay are sleeping in the bed, and Clay wakes up and he hears something by the window. He was actually facing the window and behind him was Amy. So after his eyes adjust for a little bit, he sees Amy standing at the window and he thinks maybe something is wrong. So he says her name and he's like, Amy, Amy. He then turns and looks at him, and all of a sudden he hears something behind him. All of a sudden got this feeling of overwhelming negativity. He said that he slowly put his hand behind him and felt Amy laying next to him. He then turns his head to make sure that it's actually Amy laying next to him and it is his wife. Then turns, looks back at the window, and no one is standing there. I actually emailed her back and asked her if she had ever herself seen her doppelganger, and she said that she hadn't, but that her daughters had told her that they had actually had dreams about her. Like they would have dreams that their mother was in their dreams, but they knew that it wasn't their mother. And she had actually never even told them these stories because she didn't want to freak them out, obviously. So all these people are seeing her in some way, shape, or form when she's not there, and she has never experienced or even felt anything remotely that is bad or
that is her. Her new husband actually passed on, unfortunately, but her ex-husband, she says that he swears by this to this day, that he saw this and it was one of the scariest experiences of his life. She actually wants to remain anonymous, but if you guys have anything to tell her, she would like to hear your opinion. She wants to know what you guys think this is and if maybe there's anything that she could do about it to maybe get rid of it. She doesn't think it's a good thing. Her family doesn't think it's a good thing. So what do you guys think? Drop in the comments. And keep sending me your scary stories, guys. I love that you're already sending them to me. Super exciting. Love reading them. All right, have a spooky night.
The creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about it?
Okay, so the creepiest thing that happened to me was years ago. I was living in Georgia with my mom, and I used to smoke a lot of weed then. So this particular day, I was like super fucking high, to the point that, you know, that high that you gotta lay down. Like, it's like the high that you like, take a nap, bitch, or you gonna die. Like, I'm dying. So my mother was at the head of her bed. It was a window over her bed, and I was laying at the bottom of the bed. So she was like laying at the head of the bed watching TV, and I'm laying like at the bottom of the bed, and I'm facing the window. So I'm just laying there, and it's like that. We like chit-chatting a little bit, but it was that high that like I could not keep my eyes open, and I'm just like dozing off and like so high. I felt so good, and then I look up and I see two nuns coming by, but they didn't have black and white on. They had on beige and off-white instead of black and white. I was freaked out. I told my mother, I was like, Mom. Oh, guys, the craziest thing about that was they wasn't walking by or coming towards. They was literally like floating by, and they was side by side. So if I'm laying down and I'm looking at them, they was like just passing by me, like the window. And they was, I don't even know how to explain it. That's how I know it was ghosts, because it was like they was side by side each other, and they had off-white, and then the rest of it was cream, like a darker color cream. And the crazy thing about that story is my mom had just like almost died. Like, I mean, she had the worst aneurysm that anyone, we don't even know how she alive. She had several brain surgeries. She have a metal plate in her head to this day and short-term memory loss. And she made it through, but we have several family members that passed, and I'm sure that was like the angel. They was walking, they was watching her, like keeping her safe. Obviously, yeah.
Apparently, Central Florida is home to one of the most scary demonic doppelgangers in the United States. The following story was submitted by one of my followers who is from Lakeland, Florida. This story begins about 4 years ago. She lived with her father at the time, and her best friend and co-worker actually lived with her and the rest of her family. Quick disclosure, if you're laying in bed right now or scared of the paranormal, you may want to skip this one for later. This young lady and her friend worked at Hungry Howie's, and they got off this particular night around 10:30, then went straight home. They arrived home, and the way she described her house being set up is they have a huge carport, and the door that leads into the house from the carport is the one they use as the front door. Once you enter, you have a dining room on the left, a huge hallway, and that's where her bedroom is on the opposite side of the house. As they enter the house, they notice her sister is in the kitchen just cleaning, and they speak and say hello. Then they both proceed across the house to her bedroom. She and her friend go in and just kind of unwind. They set their stuff down, and they both sit down on the edge of her bed. After a few minutes, she decides she's going to go back into the kitchen and talk to her sister for a minute. And so she actually gets up and exits her bedroom. But shortly thereafter, she realized she forgot her phone, so she walks straight back in and just grabs her phone and then goes back to the kitchen. About 15 minutes go by, and she again is just sitting in the kitchen talking with her sister like any normal night. And they hear a commotion coming down the hallway, and it's her best friend. And she is in tears, absolutely crying her eyes out. This threw up red flags for her, because she said her friend is not the type of person who cries very easily at all. So if something's going on to make her cry, like it's something usually pretty bad. She's running down this hallway into the kitchen where they're at, crying, and just keeps asking her, were you in the bedroom? She told her, no, I wasn't in the bedroom. After I come and got my phone, I've been in here in the kitchen talking to my sister. What's the problem? Her friend tells her that after she had left, then came back and got her phone and left again. Just a few moments later, that she returned to the bedroom once again, phone in hand. She sits down on the bed next to her, just like they always do, and she's just scrolling through her phone. They carry on a full-on conversation about work and just life in general, just like they had 1,000 times before. And after several minutes of this conversation, her friend said that she actually got thirsty and got up off the bed and was going to go into the kitchen to get some water. And just before she exited the room, she turned back around to ask her friend if she wanted some water as well, but when she turned around, she was gone. That's when she ran down the hallway crying. They spent the remainder of that night just being completely freaked out. They were in total fear because there was no doubt, no question, her friend legitimately had this experience, and they had no explanation for it. But that wasn't the only time that people seen her or heard her in this house. On several different occasions, she said that her brother's friend, who would come over quite often to hang out, would see her throughout the house in different locations when she was either at work or just out doing something. She wasn't home. They would also hear her voice. They could hear her calling like their names and just talking when she would not even be on the property where the house is. The last account of this doppelganger demon thing happened about 2 weeks ago, and it could be the most terrifying one yet. Her brother and his friend were standing in the kitchen talking, and her brother's friend actually had his back to like the living room entrance, and he was talking to her brother, which was over here. As her brother was looking at his friend talking to him, he said he seen something peek around from behind his friend, which was like around the doorway going into the living room, and it was just peeking around the corner looking at him. The real creepy thing is, as he's looking at this creature, this doppelganger, it's peeking around the corner. He can tell that it does look like his sister. It's the same height, has the same hair, and about the same weight. All that's pretty similar, except the features are totally skewed. The overall color was just like a gray, just off color. It wasn't human tones at all. And the features were just distorted and messed up. But at a glance, it did look just like his sister. Her brother, as she describes it, is kind of a cocky, like, young dude. He decided he's going to, like, chase after this thing, and so he immediately lunges toward it, chased it into the living room, and the only thing that happens is he said he hears footsteps, like something running, and then like a crashing noise, but when he gets into the living room, nothing's there. Nothing's out of place. It's just totally disappeared. Whatever this creature is, a doppelganger, a mimic, which ultimately I think is a demonic entity, it was really bad for a couple years and then had died down, but recently the activity has started to pick back up. He thinks this thing maybe follows her around because she has stayed over at her other friends' houses before, and she sees things like out in her peripheral vision, out the corner of her eye. Since the activities picked back up, she said her prayer life has actually increased as well, because whatever connection she has with this creature, she wants to break it. If you guys have ever experienced anything like this, and this honestly sounds very similar to the creature I described in the story yesterday about this being that appeared beside this woman's bed, like the Hat Man. Let me know in the comments if you've experienced this or anything similar. You guys have a great day.
All right, now, have a great day. God bless, honey. Protect yourself. Pray up. Stay prayed up. Believe in a higher power outside of yourself. And also go within at the same daggone time, okay? If you know, you know. Protect yourself by any means necessary, by the physical world and the spiritual world.
maybe don't listen to this story at nighttime, especially if you share your bed. So Javier is a single dad and has a son named Martin. Javier has been really into work lately and working really hard that whenever he comes home, he's just ready to go to bed. They live in a really small house that only has one bedroom. He somehow put in a small couch in there and made room for a little table, but this is all they could afford. He does share that bedroom with his son, and they also share the bed. They're so used to sleeping together at this point. They each have their own blankets, their own pillows, and they each have their own side, so they very much respect each other's spaces. He explains that his son understands that his dad can't afford anything more than that, so he definitely understands the situation and he's okay with it. And they also only share one little dresser that is in that bedroom. So there was one night where he was extremely tired. He got home from work, didn't even say hi or like good night to his son, went to bed, and he passed out. So it was close to midnight when he got woken up because he started to hear almost like scratching in the bedroom. So the bed in the room is cornered and dad is the one that sleeps close to the wall in the bed. He explains that he remembered in that moment that he had a flashlight in that crack of the bed and the wall, and that was because a lot of the times in that neighborhood sometimes the lights would go out, so that was like the emergency flashlight because it would be a mess when he would get up to go to work and couldn't see anything. So again, he has that flashlight only for emergencies, but he's realizing that he might have not changed the batteries and the flashlight may not even work. So not knowing if the flashlight would turn on or not, he found it in the crack of the bed on the wall. He tried to turn it on, it wouldn't turn on, so he like kind of hit it twice and it did turn on, but it was very dim. So once he gets that flashlight to turn on, he starts hearing those scratches a little louder and a little more frequently. As he's pointing the flashlight around the room, he's thinking to himself, I really hope this isn't a rat or an animal that's come in here. He points the flashlight towards the door to see if the door is open or not, and it's closed. He points the flashlight to the ground and there's nothing there. And that was when he decided to turn left and he pointed the flashlight towards that little dresser that was in the room. That is where he sees Martin sitting on top of the dresser. And with a little bit of light from that flashlight, he can see that Martin's legs are like swinging, but that his hands are to the side scratching on that dresser. He thought to himself that is really weird that Martin is doing that, but he decides to ask, Martin, are you okay? The boy immediately stops, freezes, and the dad says that he starts to see the little boy just turn like this very slowly towards where he was, asking him if he's okay. For some reason, the dad seeing his son turn very slowly towards him like that, he became immediately terrified. He's like, I had never seen Martin do this. I've never seen him act this way, never in my life. Like, why would he turn so slowly facing me? The dad again, Martin, are you okay? And the kid just continued to turn around very slowly. It was only until Martin completely faced his dad where the dad says that he can see his entire eyeball was black. Again, the dad's like, Martin, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And the dad says that he notices when Martin gets into like a little squat position and leaps to his dad. Like, he just jumped onto him like he was gonna attack him. The dad obviously screams when that happens because he's getting ready for that attack, for that impact. When he screams, he hears Martin's voice say, Dad, what are you doing? What's going on? You just woke me up. His voice was coming from next to his dad on the bed because Martin had been asleep next to him the entire time. Obviously, the dad puts the flashlight to where his son usually sleeps and he's there, literally rubbing his eyes because he had just woken up. He's terrified and he starts pointing that flashlight all around the room and sees nothing. To this day, he has no idea what he saw in that bedroom that night, and sometimes he tries to lie to himself and say maybe it was a hallucination, maybe I was just really tired and I saw that. But then he says that he started to hear stories about doppelgangers and thinks that that is what he saw that night. But what do you guys think?
Hey my TikTokers, so I'm sitting here watching the waves break on the Oregon coast, and it's gorgeous because the storm is rolling in. And I thought this would be the perfect time for me to share one of my paranormal experience stories. Unfortunately, I don't have any evidence on this one. It happened a while ago, and it happened in my own house, so I wasn't prepared, unfortunately. But this happened probably 6 years ago. I am a huge fan of restoring Victorian homes. It's actually the business that I used to own out here in Oregon a while back, and I bought a 1918 Craftsman little beach house. Lived in it for probably a good 6 months and started noticing things getting moved around, like My car keys would be on the countertop, then they'd be on the coffee table. My kids' toys would be upstairs, and then they'd be downstairs. So little stuff like that I started to notice. Well, the big break for me was one night. We had just gotten done with dinner, and with my husband at the time. I was doing the dishes in the kitchen, and there is a big wall and a doorway that leads into the living room. So he was in the living room on the couch watching TV with our dog Mambo. And I turn around because I was done with the dishes, and I saw him walking into our bedroom, and he didn't turn the lights on or anything. He just walked in and he turned to the left, which means he was heading to the bathroom. And I thought, well, that's weird. Maybe he's getting, ready for bed early. So, and then I saw Mambo follow him in there. So I was like, all right, I'll go see what he's doing. And I start walking into the bedroom. And as I'm passing by the living room doorway, I noticed that my husband is still sitting on the couch. And I looked over at him in just absolute terror and asked him, what the hell are you doing on the couch? And he's like, I've been here. And I'm like, no, you just walked into the bedroom. Even your dog followed you. He's like, I was wondering why Mambo got up and went into the bedroom. And I was like, hold on. So I walked into the bedroom and I turned on the light, and there's poor Mambo just sitting staring at the bathroom door as though somebody was in there. So I went and I opened the door and I was like, tiny little bathroom, is there anybody in here? Nothing. And so Mambo and I just both looked at each other really confused. And I started walking out of the bedroom, and as soon as Mambo saw his dad on the couch, he freaks out, runs over, like, oh my gosh, there you are. So that's my doppelganger story. And I had a dog confirm it too. So I felt a little more at ease that I wasn't the only one that saw him walk into the bedroom. Stay tuned in for more. Mwah.
See, that is you, in my garden. How are you writing here without touching your phone? Look up, I'm by the window. Can't you hear me banging on it?
Damn it, Mary, now you're scaring me too. I'm definitely not in your garden. That's not me.
Stop playing with me. I can see your face. And you're wearing that stupid football jacket you're so proud of.
It must be someone who looks like me. Honestly, Mary, I'm at home. I wouldn't play around like that.
It has to be a friend of yours, Lucas. Playing a sick prank. How can't talk, I have to be quiet. I turned off the lights. I'm in a closet with a knife. Hard to type shaking too much.
Damn it. Hang in there, Mary. The police will be there in 20 minutes. Do you know where he is?
It, not he. The look it had when it saw me, Lucas. No person could look like that.
Yeah, you talked about the Mandela catalog. Oh, yeah, alternates. You know what a doppelganger is? People that look like you, know? So, Emily, she was a 32-year-old teacher from France. The weird thing about her was that she was in 19 different schools in the span of 16 years. This happened in 1845, so the 1800s, bro. She goes to this all-girls school, right? And some weird shit starts happening. What? Regular day in class, whatever, she's up at the chalkboard, and they notice that something next to her is doing the exact same thing that she's doing on the chalkboard. They're just staring like, what the f is happening? Then it just goes away and she turns around, she starts talking to the class. Then again, she's in the lunchroom, there's a couple students there, and then they say that they saw something that looked exactly like her, copying her moves that she was eating. And then this one last appearance, she stepped out of class. A teacher came in to substitute for her. She was just chilling in there, and then she came back into class. But then when they looked outside, they saw the teacher outside. So what the was sitting there looking at them? So they turned around to it, and it was just staring at them, not doing anything. So one of the students got the balls to like go over and touch it, and then it just felt like a hard ass cloth. Then it disappeared, and then the teacher ended up getting kicked out. They couldn't deal with it no more. They kept seeing weird shit like that. Yeah, they kept seeing her, but it wasn't her. It was her doppelganger. Your doppelganger's in the mirror. That's why they say that you're not supposed to sleep in front of a mirror or a mirror facing your bed, because if you wake up sometimes, maybe in the night, you'll see that you're laying down and your doppelganger isn't. That's scary, bro.
Alright. We are making some noodles. Eating some noodles.
Yummy.
I think we need to use the chopsticks.
Only Korean people do that.
We can use them too.
Yeah, we can, but my chopsticks are broken.
We need new ones. Let me see if it works. Okay, so while we eat our noodles, I want to tell a little story time. that I've told my daughter before, but I would love to share it with everyone else just because till this day it blows my mind. Not long story short, let me just tell you guys a story. When I was about maybe 12 years old, at that time, I was staying with my aunt and my uncle in Orange County. We were staying in the room. We just laid out some blankets and we would sleep there, me and my sister. This night, my aunt and my uncle had gone to sleep. And me and my sister were just up. You know, there was no such thing as phones, iPads, none of that. I remember just the TV was on, and that's it. We were just
like square TVs, right?
Yeah, like the big ones. Like not like these ones, not like the ones.
Square TVs that are old.
Yeah. So me and my sister were just laying there, waiting to get sleepy, and then eventually fall asleep.
That's what I do.
We're laying there. And we see my cousin, at that time, she was 5 years old. We see that she comes in the room. And I remember at that time, I can't remember if we were, like, having, like, a little argument, like a little cousin fight, you know?
What was it about?
I don't remember. But she came in and she just looked at us. And then she walked towards the bathroom. When she tried to open the door, it like kind of got stuck, and me and my sister.
Tell me that.
Well, now you know. It got kind of stuck, and me and my sister, we laughed at her. And I remember she turned around, looked at us, gave us a dirty look.
Oh, you told me that.
We were just like, whatever, we laughed. Then after that, she tried to open the door again, went inside, and that's it. I remember seeing her turn on the light and then go inside the bathroom. So she goes in there, about maybe 15 minutes go by. And my cousin that's 5 years old hasn't came out of the bathroom. So that's when we kind of... I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to scare my sister. But then my sister ends up bringing it up. It's just like, hey, you don't think it's kind of weird that Fernanda hasn't came out? And we're like... And I was like, honestly, I was thinking about it too. I just didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to scare you. And she goes, well, I was scared. I don't know. I ended up convincing my sister to go and open the door and check.
You guys should
tell me why Fernanda wasn't in there. Mom. Nobody was in there.
Mom,
nobody.
When both of you know how to solve a problem? So when both of you guys don't want to go in, guys should just both go in, like, just
I know we should have, but
solved.
Honestly, growing up, I was always a scary cat. My sister always, like, she was a stronger one. But anyways, she goes, opens the door, the light is on.
What the signal?
But nobody's in there. My sister opens the door and she's like, dude, she's not in there. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, automatically, I just already had a bad feeling about it. Just because the way she looked at us, she didn't talk to us. It was just like, she walked by, didn't say anything. And I mean, what do you mean she's not in there? This is maybe like midnight, you know? And
it's a demon.
After that, I jump up, I jump into my uncle's and my aunt's bed, and I'm like, oh my God, we're like trying to explain to them, but we're like so scared, and we're like, Fernanda went in the bathroom, and like now she's not in there. We checked, nobody's in there, and they were just kind of like, you know, waking up, like, what's going on? They're confused. They're like confused, and they go check, they get up, they check the bathroom.
You're not even eating your noodles.
I know, I'm telling the story, that's why. But they go in the bathroom, they don't see anybody there, and they were like, oh, maybe you guys missed her, maybe she came out and you guys just didn't see her. And I'm like, no, there's no way we would have missed her. Nowhere, literally, we're right in front of the bathroom. And then they were just like, oh, it's okay, you know, like, just go back to sleep. They were like, you know, they probably thought we were like, we're little, you know, they didn't believe us. But till this day, that story still trips me out. Still trips me out because who the hell was that going in the bathroom at midnight?
It's a scary
It was not her. But yeah, we had a lot of stories in that house and other houses that we lived in. So let me know if y'all want to hear more.
It's a scary demon.
The only one that I can really comment on, and it's very weird, was when I was maybe 6 or 7, I saw my father come out of the kitchen and walk down the hall. And what was strange was my father had gone away on a mission. My father was in the army, and he had gone away. So it was weird because we didn't expect that he would be back. I didn't know he was even home. So I went chasing after him, and I was so excited to see him. And I chased after him as he went down the hall, and when I got to the room that I saw him turn into, he wasn't there. And so I became convinced, 100% convinced, that my father had died on a mission somewhere in the world, and that his ghost came and visited me. And my dad did not come home for weeks. And everything was very hush-hush, and nobody would talk to us, and nobody gave us any information. So I was absolutely convinced that that's what happened. Well, then my father shows up.
Oh, good.
He comes home.
Oh,
but he doesn't look like himself. He looks different, so I was convinced he was an imposter. And for about a year, I was convinced that my father had been replaced. Now, at being the age I was, I thought he was replaced by a robot. But it was so bizarre. And years and years and years later, I found out my father was in some kind of accident. They called it a training accident, an accident. And that he was laid up. And the reason why he didn't come home was because he was being taken care of in a hospital. And when I heard that, I was like, did they declare you dead? Did you die? And my dad, very nonchalantly, is like, maybe. He's like, maybe. And basically the story was his chute didn't open. And he did something called a cigarette roll, and he hit the ground, but he survived. But it caused all kinds of damage, and of course he had lost all this weight, and he looked really different when he came home. And I thought, maybe I saw my dad at the moment he hit the ground, or shortly thereafter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the craziest story you've ever told, Chris.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
needs a movie.
Well, there you have it. I think this was a good one. We haven't did doppelganger stories in a while, so you're welcome. But you reached the end of another video. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, baby. Genuinely, I appreciate everything that y'all do for me, okay? Y'all are my soul trap. Trap is with a Y because the Y is for you, and that's because I love you. I do. I truly, truly do. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you get you some merch. Make sure you get some life insurance. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your assets. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side. I love you. Ashe.
Who your favorite? Who do you lie down? We ain't over my third eyes.